The American dream that came out in the 50s was about the wonder of economic growth, technology, peacetime, and abundance and opportunity for everybody. Everybody could be the president, everybody could be rich. That mentality is terrifying because it creates a misalignment of present self and future self. So everybody feels like they never got there. This was the whole book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson, was basically this, is that's what Vegas is about. We don't have gambling in the same way in Europe. You can go and gamble, it's just not a big deal. But in America it is, because it's about this future expectation of yourself, I think, driven by the American dream. And obviously a frontier style economy and how the US, gave birth to itself. So the American dream was set up and a whole construct was set around it. And then two bad things happen. One bad thing, number one, is everybody goes, this is fucking amazing. I want to have kids, right? Prosperity, great times. So all of the people who'd gone through the war, or maybe two wars, had kids. Those kids were the baby boomers. And they had too many kids. They had
too many kids in what way? For the planet? Because
for the children themselves. So what happens is if two of us go for a job interview, we have a 50-50 chance. If 1,000 of you do, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance. So what happens is if too many people come into the workforce at the same time, they compete with each other for wages. And if you look back and inflation adjust wages for the average median American or the average American, particularly the median American, over the last 45 years, it's not gone up at all. So there's been no productivity growth. The miracle never happened. But in the meantime, the price of assets went up. Why? Because there's a whole bunch of people at the same age who all want to buy a house at the same time, all want to buy into the stock market at the same time to stay for their retirement. They pushed up prices. So they got poorer because they didn't own it all. And so the more they tried to buy over time, the more it went up. And they got this massive gap. And that gap between their earnings and the costs of assets that you secure your future income in kept going up. So they borrowed money. And when you basically adjust by asset prices like house prices versus wages, the difference is the debt. And then the government started doing the same. So it was all driven by the baby boomers, but the baby boomers had a second shock and a third shock. Second shock came really in the mid-80s, which was computers. Computers started competing for jobs with people, slowly at first, and then faster. And then 1996, 1999, 2000, well, 1996, the World Trade Organization, WTO, agreed that what a great idea. Let's all trade without tariffs with each other. Free markets. Yeah, well, the free market actually meant that when China entered the global workforce, they would work for a fraction of what you and I would work for. And so that meant labor costs never went up. And the cost of goods got cheaper because China could produce them cheaply. So we just gorged on this stuff because there's cheap goods. We borrowed more money because we had this future expectation of ourselves being rich, the American dream, and we gorged on more money and we borrowed money to see if we can make money from asset prices. So this whole thing was driven by demographics, and that came out of World War II. So it was World War II that drove all of the mess we're in now, and that's the same globally.
Is there a baby boom all around the world?
No. The US, yes, sorry, there was a baby boom everywhere. The difference was Europeans didn't have a second baby boom, which is the Millennials. The US has the Millennials, and that's helped the US economy outperform Europe over time. Japan didn't have Millennials either. So they're all older populations. The US had the millennial population. So the millennial population, it pops up into the workforce. The millennials, about 4 years ago started hitting 30 years old, that big thing. This is a big bunch of people. Problem is they look into the world, their parents are still in the workforce. So they need to compete with jobs with their parents. There's a whole bunch of them competing with each other. They all try and go to university to see if they can get a better job. So they drive up the cost of university. They then come out of university, they try and buy a house. They drive up the cost of house. I mean, it's just a mess. When you have these bulges of population, you create all these distortions. So these millennial population are pretty screwed because their parents have driven up the price of assets so high, trying to save enough to retire, which has never really happened. That they come out and say, right, I'm earning money now. What do I buy? Oh, the equity market at all-time high valuations, the bond market at all-time low yields, property prices are too high to afford. I'm fucked. again, all of these are why I got to crypto, because I knew that I had a different expected future return because their parents had known this stuff. And therefore, they themselves could help drive the price up and the adoption as long as they bought it.
That's it for today, guys. If you found this video useful, then don't forget to like the video and share this knowledge with your friends and family. And don't forget to check out the full video, link is in the description. Thank you.